Hello, today we're going to be doing an install of a shocker pass positive air shutoff system on this 2013 Bobcat CT440. So we're going to go ahead and get the hood open and pull off the side covers and so on, and then we'll move on to the first step. Okay, so this is our 22.5 series full auto reset shocker pass positive air shutoff system. It comes with everything that you need for the installation: clamps, hoses, instruction manual, our plug-and-play wiring harness, circuit breaker, our test pad, the R5 rev limiter box, and the full auto reset valve, as well as stickers for when you're completed the installation. Okay, so after checking our clearances, this looks to be the best location for us to mount our positive air shutoff. So we're going to go ahead and remove this air intake hose and cut 2 inches out of it so that we can mount our valve in place. Okay, so we got our valve mounted in place here. We cut 2 inches out of the factory hose, so we actually didn't even end up using the supplied hoses or 2 of the clamps that actually come in the kit. But we got the valve mounted in place. We made sure that it's not going to interfere with any fan or belts or AC lines or any coolant hoses. We know that our hood opens and closes still, so we have adequate room everywhere. And it is physically as close to the air intake on the engine as we can get it, which is a very important thing. So now we're at the point of the installation where we're going to start mounting the rev limiter box and routing our wiring harness. So we found a location here where a lot of the other factory electronics are already mounted on the firewall here, so we're going to go ahead and mount our rev limiter box in the same location. So our wiring harness just simply plugs in to the bottom of the R5 box, like so. When you hear the click, you know what's in. To release it, you just press this tab and pull them apart. Once you have it together, you can push in this white locking tab. That ensures that the wiring harness will not come unplugged from our box. Okay, so we went ahead and mounted our rev limiter box here on the firewall. So we're going to plug in our wiring harness, push up the white locking tab. So now we need to route our wiring harness. The red and the black wire here go directly to the battery. This yellow wire here goes to the speed sensor signal. And green and blue are going to be ran into the cab where we're going to mount our test pad. Then you have this harness here, which has a Delphi plug on the end already. This plugs directly onto our solenoid on our positive air shutoff valve. This brown wire here is not used for this application. Okay, so we ran the wires that we showed previously coming from our rev limiter box, the green and the blue wire, ran them up into the cab. Then we also drug a black ground wire all the way up to the battery. We recommend doing that with all of our installations. Then we drilled this hole here so that our test pad can fit through this control panel. Then the nut on the back, the wiring passes through the center of the nut. So you just put that onto the back and you tighten it up. And it's just that easy. Okay, so we ran our switch ground and our main ground from the rev limiter box up to the battery negative seen here. Then our main power lead from the rev limiter box is ran to our circuit breaker. Then from the circuit breaker it goes directly to the battery positive. We recommend always using shrink type connectors. These ensure that you keep corrosion and contamination out of all your electrical connections. Okay, so we ran our yellow wire from our rev limiter box up to this engine position sensor seen here. We tagged into here to give our rev limiter box a RPM signal. Now, this is not a shielded wire. If you have shielded wires, which will be covered in a tinfoil type substance, then you need to do your connection right at the PCM. Our wire here is not shielded, so we were able to terminate our connection here. We also have an assortment of different sizes of speed sensors that we recommend and prefer using. Reason being, then your unit is standalone, so you don't have to worry about sensor failures. The alternator rectifier terminal signal can be used. We do not recommend using a rectifier signal from the alternator. Reason being, if your belt fails, the unit will not shut down because your alternator is not spinning, so it won't be able to sense the shutdown RPM. So we always recommend using our speed sensors or engine position sensors of some kind. Okay, so we've now come to the setup portion of our install. I went ahead and unbolted the rev limiter box from the firewall so that we can gain access to our set button located on the back of the box. The reason it is located on the back of the box is so that once you have your target RPM set, it cannot be tampered with later on. So to perform our setup procedure, the first step is to hit the set button. Then you will have a green LED light as indicated here. Then you're going to want to start the engine and bring it up to your desired half speed. Then once you have achieved your half speed, you are going to hit the set button once again. After a few seconds, after it's picked up the engine RPM, then it should flash green. Ours flashed red as the engine is not running and is not picking up a RPM signal at this time. Okay, so now we are actually going to perform a true setup with the engine running. So as I said before, you have to hit your set button once. Your green LED will be lit. Now I'm going to have my assistant start the unit and bring it up to our desired half speed, which is 2000 RPM for this application. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so now to confirm that we have achieved our setup procedure properly, we are going to perform a test showing that the unit will kill at 4000 RPM. But remember, when in test mode, our unit will shut down at half of that, which is 2000 RPM. So to perform this test, we are going to start the tractor, then hit the test button when it is at idle. So I'm going to have my assistant start the tractor. So once our rev limiter box seen 2000 RPM, it shut down the unit. Once the unit has seen that it has not had any RPM signal for 15 seconds, it will automatically reset the valve. Okay, so now we have proven that the test port on the rev limiter box itself is operating properly. We are going to do an in-cab test on our keypad located here. So I'm going to go ahead and start the tractor. Hit the test port. Bring our engine RPM up to our desired half speed. And it shut down properly. You are now done your installation of your shocker pass positive air shutoff system. Okay, so we're now going to show how our full auto reset resets itself automatically. So if you are in the work field and they ask you to show the operation of your unit, you can simply from the cab hit the trip button. The valve will shut down the unit, and after 15 seconds of it not sensing engine RPM, it will automatically reset itself. So we're just going to move the camera just so you can see, and we'll perform a trip. So we trip the valve. Now after 15 seconds, it will automatically reopen itself. This way you never have to get out of your cab or open the hood to reset the unit.